Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, the Monday, October 20th edition of the Daily Pulse. I'm your host, Teddy Panos, coming to you here from the WellPoint Studios in downtown Lowell. Good to be back in downtown Lowell after my international escapade last week. Lots to catch you up on, lots to look ahead to, and who better to do that on a Monday than my good friend, Marty Laurie. It's Mondays with Marty back.
Almost.
It's been a long time since we've done one of these.
I know. I'm free again in the mornings and free again in the afternoons and evenings. But my life has never been so busy.
You are now officially retired and you're working harder than you ever did at work.
It's been crazy. The past 2 weeks have been really crazy.
I'm sure, and I'm glad you're here today because we haven't done this in a while, so we can catch up, and then hopefully we'll do this on a somewhat regular basis going forward as we did. I'm excited to have Marty here. We got a lot to talk about with Marty Laurie, a lot to talk about with you as well. But first, let me thank my Daily Pulse sponsors. Ray Booten, he is a licensed realtor in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. He is a certified appraiser in both states as well. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home, a business, or a commercial property, you need to get in touch with Ray Stat. Find him easily enough online, realestaterayBooten.com. That's realestaterayBooten.com. Thanks as well to WellPoint. WellPoint, the only health plan offering healthcare benefits exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Thank you, WellPoint. Thank you, Ray. Going to thank my other sponsors. Might as well say a thank you to Jerry Nutter for pinch hitting last week, so I could do a little traveling, international correspondenting, as he called it, and you for coming on in to help him fill in one day. I know he had a couple of folks back out on him, and you popped in on.
No, I don't think so.
What day was
I did. I did one
Wednesday?
with Jerry.
Yeah, you did. You did one with Jerry last week.
I did last week. Yep.
Because I had called in from the Urban Economy Forum. So I want to start with that. I would kind of recap a little bit about what I saw out there, because it was really interesting. And in terms of what it means for the future of Lowell, I want to talk a little bit about that, because I have a better understanding of things, and I think I have a better understanding of the timeline. But I want to start by talking about something that happened, I guess, while everybody was away last week. There was I think it started from the Belvedere Neighborhood Association meeting.
From what I understand, yeah.
So somebody mentioned, that they had to buy their way into the Frontrunner City.
Well, you had to invest.
Program.
Yeah, I want to say buy your way in. You have to maybe invest, or you have to put up money to go forward.
Yeah, like when you join any organization or whatever, you pay some kind of money. But there was Erin Gendron, candidate for Belvedere City Council, has started doing she's calling it a blog or a podcast where she's recapping the city council meetings. So her one last week, she recapped. She really barely touched on the council meeting because it was pretty uneventful from what I understand. I haven't seen it. She did talk about the Belvedere Neighborhood Association meeting and this discussion that has started to wind its way around, and it kind of came out on social media over the weekend as well, where it was the feeling was that the city of Lowell wasn't chosen to be a front-runner city. They had to buy it. It was a pay to play. I believe she used the word pay to play.
My understanding was Danny Rourke found it. Somehow, I don't know, reading a magazine, it was something. And Danny went forward with it. He found it and he pursued it. And it's come this far. So I really haven't followed it much more than that. There hasn't been a lot on it, only because it's still in progress. The wheels are still turning.
Well, there's been a lot on it on Inside Lowell. I'm not sure what the other media entities in the city are doing.
Concrete. We have this coming. We have this possibility. We have this. We have some possible financing. We have all these possibilities, but nothing concrete. That will come down the road, maybe in 2 or 3 years. I'm going to tell you that it's going to come within a month. You're going to see an investment the size of which Lowell may not have seen in its history. That's good. But I mean, you know about it
within a month. So
but you're covering it up there.
So because I'm interested, I'm asking the questions. So
But you haven't released that information yet.
I certainly have. If you follow Inside Lowell, InsideLowell.com, and you follow all of our Daily Pulse podcasts, this information is out there.
Good.
I did a podcast with Mark Keeley, a gentleman who's he's on the advisory board, who I got to meet over the weekend, over last week, I should say. I've met a ton of people. There's this narrative out there that I feel is, I have to kind of correct it. And by the way, I love what Erin Gendron's doing. I've actually reached out to her. I want her to be a part of our election coverage, and I think she's going to be. I want her to be able to put her I
called Edwin last night, and I said, welcome to the club. Yeah. Now, my point Saturday was, Lola's lucky. Everyone says, oh, there's no more newspaper. Well, there is to a degree. But you have Inside Lowell, you have WCAP, you have Dick Howe Jr.'s newsletter. Now you have Erin and you have Jerry Nutter writing another blog. So there's a lot of information out there if people are interested.
Exactly, if people are interested. And this is where I want to, and I'm not picking on Erin for this. She said, I have a lot of questions. She said that twice in that recording. Well, here's the thing. I had a lot of questions too when I heard that the mayor was going to Toronto last September for this Urban Economy Forum. I had a lot of questions. So you know what I did? I asked the mayor, what is the Urban Economy Forum? And then I followed up on it. And then when I found out that 7 city councilors were taking a trip last November and December, I reached out to all of them and asked about it.
Right.
So if you have questions, you can ask them. But this narrative that I saw start to develop on Facebook with all the comments that the city's not being transparent and this and that, oh, they are. They're telling you. And so the big deal was, well, did they pay money did they pay $12,000 for an article that appeared in a magazine called Capital Analytics, is what you recall. So
that's fine.
It's a paid advertisement. So if don't you want your economic development team to go out and let people throughout the country and throughout the world know that you're open for business?
That's fine.
And this is what you can do? When I
heard the comments, it seemed that out of the Belvedere Association came the news there was a $100,000 fee or whatever, which isn't much, but it was there when you look at the possibility of returns. So that was a question I don't think most people knew. And then Jerry responded. There was a budget item that was a transfer of $750,000. Now, that was the time to ask, what's this money for? Okay, in the line item it said for the for the line item, what it said was
so what you're referring to. I saw Jerry Nutter went and found it. So
he did.
If Jerry Nutter, and I love Jerry, and he pinch hit for us, but Jerry's not exactly ever going to be mistaken for a Wall Street wizard or Connor Baldwin or whatever, right? But he was. Lo and behold, he was able to find it. There's the line.
750, right?
Economic Development Initiatives Frontrunner City, marketing, etc., etc. $750,000.
I didn't see the meeting. It's at that point, the council you would think would ask, "What's this money for?" And what's been used for since. Now there's probably a line item on it. There's probably some type of ledger, $750 down, which being spent. I didn't really look into it. These things are done on the city all the time. They'll transfer money. And if you want to get into the nitty gritty, we're going to put $800,000 into the wastewater. Well, do you want a line item on the wastewater? Most people don't.
So I actually had a conversation with Manager Golden this morning. I'm like, hey, what's the breakdown here? He says, I could get it for you, and I think he will, but he's like, when you say, because right above it, he goes, look right above it. He says, you'll find LMA building improvements, $2 million.
Right.
He said, I don't list that we put 5 new light bulbs in there. We put X amount of dollars. It's like the point of having a manager is you expect them to day-to-day do that. And by the way, all of this then gets audited by the auditor. He
Right.
said, if you want that information, I'll get you the exact breakdown. He also said $750,000 has not been spent.
I'm sure it
That's
hasn't.
the
That's a
amount
lot
that
of
has
money.
been budgeted. He did acknowledge the $12,000 for capital analytics. I don't know about the $100,000 or whatever, but I also know that what's coming is they're going to start putting out, because it wasn't you, it was actually Bill Samaras was here with us and with Mayor Danny Rourke a couple of weeks ago, and he said, we have been told, go out and recruit a company to come to your area. We will invest $500 million to $1 billion to get a company to either relocate, locate, or expand their operations in Lowell, because one of the goals of Frontrunner City is to create jobs.
Yeah.
They want the residents who are here and those who are coming here to have somewhere to work. Good, sustainable jobs.
Who's the company coming?
We don't know yet.
Okay.
So 𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐼 𝐿𝐴𝐼 is soliciting this, and part of what their efforts are, from what I was told by Manager Golden, is they're taking out ads in the Wall Street Journal, in trade publications and whatever. Now, who's the company coming here? So I'll tell you, because this, and again, don't say the city's not telling you, because you have to want to find out. And if you ask, you will find out. But I saw this with my very own eyes last week. There's an engineering firm out of Canada. I was sitting in the hall at the Urban Economy Forum, and Mayor Rourke came in and grabbed Connor Baldwin and said, you need to talk to these people. He left the room. So me, of course, about 5 minutes later, I had to go to the bathroom. So I walked by the area where, sure enough, Connor Baldwin and this group met for at least 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
I started asking the questions. Who are they? It's an engineering firm that was thinking about opening up an American office in Atlanta. They're now looking at Lowell.
Good.
So that's an engineering firm. There are other people there. There were multiple investment groups there that were talking to Lowell officials, and Giovanni Baez-Rose was not there. 𝐃𝐚𝐲 𝐋𝐨𝐫𝐫𝐞𝐲 was, and he put on a great, I don't know if you saw the presentation.
No.
But it was awesome. But there are people talking, and I overheard, I probably shouldn't say this, but I overheard a conversation that I probably wasn't supposed to overhear. But
that's your job.
So when I said to you, within a month, you will have the first investment in the city announced.
Good. And
that's going to be a $300 million investment in the city of Lowell.
Great.
By people who, I was joking with somebody that, So there's people in Lowell who we think they have money and we think they have money. And I kind of laughed about it, because the guys who are investing, I saw the guy all 3 times. I've actually talked to him. The guy wears an ascot all the time, not a tie. The guy wears an ascot. So that's the kind of wealth we're talking about. In Lowell, you put on a Mickey, a guy puts on a Mickey Ward hoodie. The ladies will kick off their flip-flops and wear a pair of flats, and they think that they're wealthy.
There's more money out there. I mean, if you really want to see a lot of money, I go up the North Shore on the motorcycle. You go into Beverly Farms, and you go into some of those small towns. There's a lot of money up there, a lot of investors. If they're still there after they tax the millionaires tax in the state. They're probably still there. They just changed their address legally. There's a lot of money in the state.
I will assure you, folks, that your city is now traveling in a realm where they are speaking to one of the 10 richest people on the planet who is interested in your city. When they talk about investing billions of dollars, it's not a joke. These people were there at that Urban Economy Forum, and they were there specifically to chat, obviously, with the UN representatives, but they wanted to chat with Tom Golden, Danny Rourke, Connor Baldwin, 𝐃𝐚𝐲 𝐿𝐴𝐼. It is the type of announcements that are going to come in the coming years. It won't all happen all at once.
No, I figure 2 years, 3 years.
The first one will be, I have a hunch within 1 month, you will have the first announcement, and it will be big. And it will probably be in that Jam Plus. There were certain documents, I was trying to get a picture of something, and I was told, no, you can't get a picture of that. But there are, this thing is a lot farther along than anybody imagined.
I would think, what Evan brought up was a good point, and that's what you do when you blog. You bring up questions. Now, I talked to Evan last night. I said, welcome to the club. And we've all taken heat. But what she did was ask a question, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
No,
And,
that's what we all do. You ask the questions.
If I'm on the city council, I'm going to expect we're going to have motions put in for the breakdown of the $750,000. That's what I expect. I'm surprised it didn't happen, but there was such a transfer that night. It was about 10 transfers, and they were grouped together as a.
Yeah,
and that's fine too. That
right here,
right? That happens.
Million.
Right, and that happens. But I think now, with everything going on, one of the questions I've heard around town: who's paying for the trips? Well, I know some of the councilors are paying for themselves. Who's paying for people in the private sector? And I said,
they're paying
you
their
know,
own way.
I don't know, but I will tell you this: when you go after a project this big, they don't care about the mayor or the city manager. They want to know what the community thinks. They want to see community involvement and how that happens. So by bringing a lot of people from the community up, and it's only Toronto, we're not talking, Hawaii. It's a good thing because they want to see that. These companies you're talking about, $300 million, isn't a lot of money. Okay,
that's the comical part for us. If you
It's
get
a lot of money
spend
for
$2
us.
million to invest in Lowell,
Right.
we get all excited. These guys, $300 million, and
It's
it is
nothing.
It's nothing
It is
to them.
nothing
It is
to
a
them.
drop in the bucket.
but they want to see what the community involvement is. They want to see what's out there. So to have people from the community there is a plus. Steve 𝐾𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲, I'll tell you, I mean, there's no one better you want anywhere than Panji. I didn't see all. I saw some pictures, so I'm not going to name who was there, but there were a lot of community leaders, and that's great. That's what you need.
Correct. And you know who impressed them as much as anybody besides 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲 𝐏𝐿? Patrick Ty, the architect, who is, by the way, a world-renowned architect.
That's Marty's brother.
Marty Ty's brother. They're actually doing a project here, and he's also working on the Boys and Girls Club design.
I was their father's mailman. They were little kids well, they were older. Marty had kids at the time, and I don't know if Patrick did. I forget. They were young. But yeah, I was their father's mailman. He was a great guy. So yeah, I'm familiar with the Ty family.
So what I didn't know is that he actually has already opened an office in Lowell. He's got an office in Los Angeles, California. That's where most of his work has been done. But because he has that Boys and Girls Club project now, which I believe he's doing for free, he's donating that because he believes in the Boys and Girls Club. But he also has another project there, the old Royal Theater, that he and his brother are doing. He's now opened an office in Lowell, which tells me you don't just open an office in Lowell for 2 projects. Let's be serious, because those can be done in a year or 2.
Lowell's
right?
home to them. The Ty family goes back a long way in the city, and they go way back. And so I'm not surprised he's good. If I was him, I'd get out of L.A. with the taxes out there with the state of California. I'd stay in Lowell or Florida. But it doesn't surprise me. So I don't know what he's looking at down the road. Maybe he's looking at out of invest. Lowell has a lot of investment property because there was a lot of vacancies. Let's be real. So I think the state has a huge tax credit now. The state's into housing, and they're trying to promote housing. So I would think a lot of these people reaching out are taking advantage of that, and I hope they are, because from what I understand, the state has this out there, and it's a great initiative.
There is a lot happening in the city, and by the way, it's great to ask these questions, but ask the questions and the answers will be found. The answers out there. I called and asked this morning, and I got some answers. I asked for the specific rundown, which hopefully I'll have, and I'll be able to publish by the end of the day today or whatnot. But the part that bugs me is that there's now like this misinformation out there that the city didn't really earn this. It's not and it was the word that was used. It's not an accolade. It was a pay to play. Was how it was being portrayed on Facebook, especially in the comments. I know what Erin was trying to say in her podcast there, but the way it was starting to be portrayed was like, yeah, that's the only way.
How long you been in radio?
Too long.
I've been in there only a short time. We'll say things, and what we say, when you hear it back on the street, it's not portrayed
Correct.
the same. And that's why I called her and said, welcome to the club.
Right. And
It's misdirected constantly. I think she made a good point. She went to the neighborhood, and she looked for about 3 hours, couldn't find it. Now, maybe Erin's not familiar with city budgets.
yeah, I wouldn't know where to find it. Jerry found it.
Jerry found it. I would have, if I really wanted to, that's why I would have found it.
Yeah, well, you were a counselor, so you would know. I assume you went through multiple budgets and knew
All
where
right,
to
would have
find
called
things,
Tommy.
right?
And
You would have called the manager if you had a question,
or
right?
try to if he could have Connor get back to me, and they'll come very back. You know, you look at the city budget, and this is what I don't like about municipal budgets now. It's probably 500 pages, and only 25 are pertinent. They've got all these graphs and colors and all these wonderful things. But when you look at the line items, that's really what you want to look at. That transfer, I don't watch the council meetings like I used to anymore, and unless I go back and review them. But those line items are pretty common that you transfer money. And now I would have never really picked up on it maybe because with the money we're putting into the infrastructure in the city as it ages, we got $75 million. You can transfer a lot of that money over some free cash. But the question should have been asked then.
So, do you think it's a coincidence that this discussion started percolating at the Belvedere Neighborhood Association meeting as opposed to the Pawtucketville Citizens Council, the West Pawtucketville, or the Centerville?
No.
Do you think it's a coincidence that it just happened to pop up?
I haven't
at the
gone to a Belvedere
meeting?
neighborhood meeting in years. Usually I don't see any Danny Rourke bumper stickers there.
Correct.
Or along
And
Federal
you're
Country.
probably not going to see any Tom Golden bumper stickers up there either.
No, honestly, I'm not surprised. I used to go to a lot of the neighborhood meetings when I was on the council, when I was a candidate, and they can be a wealth of information. You just don't know what, and I don't know who presented it. Was it a city official or was it a neighborhood leader? I don't know.
Good question. And they can be a wealth of information. They can also be a wealth of misinformation. And what I think is behind this, as you said, you won't see a lot of Danny Rourke bumper stickers.
No.
And this was a Danny Rourke somehow lit the spark that got this going. Again, the city advertised in this capital analytics, which I didn't know at first, but it was a brilliant move to do it because that's what earned the invite to the Urban Economy Forum 6. I went to 7 last week, but there's also, we're going to talk about the No Kings rally and TDS.
But let me just say this. You know, you're talking about this thing with the DPD. The most underrated department in the city, probably in the past 25 years, has been the DPD. When I was on, Adam Bakey was there. Fantastic. What a staff they had. When he left, oh God, I can't think of her name. Diane Trapp.
Diane Trapp, yeah.
She was fantastic. And then we lost a lot of good planners over the years. Teresa Park was one. A lot of them have gone to the state or the university. And but the DPD has put out some great programs over the years, and it's just gone by the wayside. But they've been fantastic.
It actually hasn't gone by the wayside, Marty.
In the past 25 years?
What transpired last week in Toronto and what I witnessed was the culmination of
this is
past organizations doing
I said in the
right
past
things.
25 years. Now you're seeing it, okay, because of what's going on. But they've always been there, and they've always done tremendous work.
Correct. They've done visionary work, right? And as much as I'll
That's what they
praise
do.
Giovanni and Camilo again, and to see Camilo speaking Spanish with folks and getting business done for them. I mean, this is an impressive young gentleman. I can't say enough about him, but. So one of the things I learned last week was that, so they've done this kind of investment. The World Economy Forum did this investment in a part of Toronto called Regent Park. And it was awesome. We did the tour and whatnot. But that was not the first Frontrunner City. That was just kind of, they laid their footprint there, and then they started going out to try to expand this. And they chose Richmond Hill in 2024 to be their first Frontrunner city in the entire planet, okay? It's a suburb north of Toronto, about 30 miles. similar to Lowell and Boston.
Right.
Now, they did that in 2024. They have not seen a penny of investment yet, and they have gotten nowhere near where Lowell is in the process. And the reason is Richmond Hill did not have a master plan.
Yeah, I read that.
Lowell has a master plan.
We've always had a master plan in this city. And you change them. They're only good for about 2 or 3 years because I've always said
politics changes, right?
No, cities and people and streets, they're all similar. They live and breathe. So master plans need to be changed every 2 or 3 years, maybe 5. And Lowell's always had one.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But they have a sustainability director. Can I tell you that is a big deal to these folks out there?
Oh, it is.
I'm like, what the bleep do you need a sustainability director for? But when you are pitching to people with this kind of money, when you are pitching to initiatives, the kind of which are moving forward in the 21st century, the fact that you have a knowledgeable woman in there, Catherine Moses, whose title is Sustainability Director, is a big deal.
It's huge. It's huge.
And a bunch of other steps along the way, building codes, sustainability codes, the Massachusetts code that everybody builds. You know, Massachusetts as a state has done a lot of this stuff well and put the infrastructure in place.
And I was waiting for last week.
A lot of this stuff.
Bike lanes, walkability, clean air, clean water. I said, someone's going to bring out Teddy Slow tapes.
But when you're trying to entice people to invest in your community who believe in this stuff, it makes sense. It's not an accident that Lowell was there. And I get the sense that some folks who want to downplay it, and I think the reason for that is, and if I can just kind of put this little slide away here.
Downplay it.
Oh, 100%.
You think so?
100%.
I haven't seen that. I think everyone I've talked to is kind of, when's it going to happen? And, where do we go?
What I'm seeing on Facebook, there's a negativity.
I don't take that serious.
I think part of it is because of what I have dubbed not TDS Trump derangement syndrome, but TDS TIPA derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
There are some people that because what is coming through the Frontrunner City initiative, and again, I'll repeat it here so nobody says that it's not out there and whatnot, because it is out there. Just because some people don't want to talk about it because they don't like me or my other politics doesn't mean the information's not out there. It's out there. I will tell you right now that within 1 month, you will hear about a $300 million investment in the city of Lowell, the first one. And it will very likely be in what is called the Jam Plus area, South Common and around there. Yeah. And if you watch, I Facebook Live the entire session Wednesday. Watch it. InsideLowell on Facebook. If you say there's no information out there, it's there. You got to do a little work rather than sitting down and being a negative ninny and wishing for bad things, or just there's a segment of Lowell that thinks bad things because that's just Lowell.
There's a couple of lots in that area that open. There's a couple, I believe, would become available if you offered.
Everybody has a price, right?
Everyone, and I think there's a couple of those, and I think there's a couple that they could utilize. My biggest concern was what's gone on over the past year, the South Common, Summer Street, and now over on Gorham with I didn't know if that would hurt it or not. I don't know. My take is, and I've always tried to be positive when I was on the council, when I ran, that neighborhood could use an infusion. But on the other hand, over the past 20 years or so, we've been talking about Cambodia Town, which has never really taken off, and I don't know why.
Money.
But
where's the money going to come from?
Yeah,
somebody's got to make the private investment.
Right.
By the way, if I were somebody advocating for Cambodia Town, you know what I would do? I would go talk to
I would be up
or
there.
Giovanni Baez Road and say, hey, how the hell can I get in and talk to these people? Because maybe, just maybe, you can get some money, because these folks up there, they love the cultural aspect. They do. Lowell. I'm going to tell you something else.
Toronto's very cultural.
Yes, indeed.
And throughout this process, I kept saying, well, there's not a lot of land in Lowell. I know you can acquire some.
There is.
You can acquire it. And as we talked, I kind of looked around. I'm looking around now by the arena, and we'll talk off air what I think will happen there as far as where they could go. But when I had Danny on the radio, we were talking, and what really came out to me was the financing. There's two problems that Lowell always faced was land and financing. The banks here are very big, but they're not the type you would finance what you're talking about. So you would need that financing.
They're small local banks, and they don't. I'm not sure that they are going to be able to play in this arena. To be honest with you, I don't want to downgrade them.
No,
but you're talking about numbers that are staggering, and I'll be curious to see how the money thing plays out. But so on Thursday, after we talked on Wednesday here, Thursday was the tour of Regent Park, this area in Toronto where they did this stuff,
right?
And they created a bunch of housing. Mixed everything from market rate to affordable to subsidized. But they didn't just put housing out there. They put amenities out there. So there's one for every building they put up, they fixed up an open space area.
Right.
So there was one area where literally within 100 yards, you had a giant soccer field with this synthetic turf, the rubberized stuff there, about a dozen, maybe 15 senior citizens playing bocce on a bright sunny day on that park. You walk to the other side of the park, there are outdoor basketball courts there.
Right.
Then right adjacent to them was I'm like, that looks like a hockey rink.
Right.
Councilor Corey Robinson said to me, come over here and see this. It's a hockey rink. It's a outdoor deck hockey rink. It was a beautiful sunny day in Toronto, but outside the rink are these mats, which they move in there come wintertime, and they turn it into a skating rink. And I said, that's Marty Laurie's dream. Going back to, 2012, right?
Yeah, we put in a skating rink, and actually, I didn't get reelected, but I knew someone that had contacted me that I played with when I was younger. And he said, I want to donate the other half of the rink, and my company will pay to install it every year. Great, And when I didn't get reelected, I'll be honest, some of the things I did just didn't reappear. And that happens. New people come in and they have new projects. And it's too bad because that could have been good. Fitchburg had an outdoor field street hockey rink right off Route 2 for years. I think it might still be there.
And that's what this is. It's a deck hockey rink with the boards and everything. But they turn it over into ice in the winter. And why Councilor Robinson was his eyes lit up because he's kind of taken the ball that you laid down a decade ago, and he's made a couple of motions now to try to find a place to do an outdoor skating rink. And if these are the kind of projects that these folks are doing, and they've opened up community centers, they've opened up an aquatic center where people go because fitness is a big thing out there. This is the kind of stuff that if Lowell can find the land, and you're right, Lowell has a lot less land than Toronto or even Richmond Hill. So they're going to have to get creative. But, you're going to see all this stuff in a matter of years because it's important to the people from the United Nations and the Frontrunner City program.
They want to be successful. The UN isn't always on everyone's top list.
They speak a language I don't like sometimes, but
they right. But anytime you get an investment of this size or the Links program, you shouldn't shake your head at it. You at least throw the line in there and see if the fish comes in. I want my house to be worth more money. I want opportunities for kids in Lowell. Mm-hmm. And if this, then again, I'm of that age after the mills closed, I saw Wayne come in. Computers were brand new. And Wayne came in, a leader in the world, and they're going to build their headquarters. They built the towers. They built a training center. And within a few years, I was working with them at the post office. All those jobs were gone. So, it's hard. And for people like me to say it and say, oh, we're going to grab this and go. It's not only bringing it in, but sustaining it, once it's here. So, but I wish them the best. And I'll tell you, I've been very open about it publicly. I think Danny Rourke's been the best mayor we've ever had, just by the fact that he went out there and found this and didn't give up. And I give kudos to Tommy Golding, because a lot of city managers would have reined that mayor in. Said, that's not your responsibility. We have a DPD, I have a staff. And they would have reined Tommy would have reined him in if he was another city manager. He hasn't.
Well, I had to do it. So a lot of folks don't understand how the Lowell political system works. They do know that we're in the midst of an election cycle.
Right.
So that's where they were really curious.
How's my predictions coming along?
Me, they're moving along. I told you that you were the original person to identify TIPA derangement syndrome last January.
It's Lowell.
And we're watching it play out because, and that's the part that bugs me. Rather than celebrate something, and I'm telling you people, your city has accomplished something that now everybody else wants in on. Houston, Texas is calling the people that were whining and dining your city manager and your mayor the other night, and they're interested here. Osceola, Florida, a place in Arizona that I forget, and a place
Osceola,
in Virginia.
I read that. They have horses.
That's in the central part of the state.
It's a horse farm.
Right.
They raise horses.
But they have a ton of land. If you've been in that central corridor in Florida, massive expansion over the last 20 years, and it's still going because all these people are moving to Florida.
Marcella's halfway, I think, between, say, Disneyland,
Orlando, and Tampa.
And Tampa.
Yes, it's halfway.
I had a friend in Tampa I was visiting. I went through.
If you drew the drive from Tampa to Orlando, as I have dozens of times, you go through signs there and
I think there were people from Lowell that had their farms down there, the horses.
Could be.
I believe there were. Yeah.
Could be. So, and the other thing was there's a town in Pennsylvania, and I was literally shown a text message that said Governor Shapiro wants to meet the mayor of Lowell.
Yeah.
So this, you folks can deny it all you want. You can be cynical. Soon we will all get to celebrate it. And again, I'm going to say it one more time so people don't say the information isn't out there and nobody knows anything about it. Within 1 month, you will hear about what I believe is a 300, if my hearing is not bad. And again, I was hearing conversations I probably shouldn't have been hearing taking place behind me. But I think you're going to hear about a $300 million initial investment in the city of Lowell.
People trust you, Teddy. You've been working in a restaurant your whole life. You hear conversations, you don't repeat.
So if they,
but let me.
I don't think they knew.
Let me say this: 750,000 has been invested. And God bless Erin. She asked a question, and that's it. And that's what happens in the city. It blows up. Yeah. And but even if they only get to 300 million, just think of this: they get a $300 million company out of investment. 750 compared to 300.
It's a pretty good rate of return, right?
That's a great rate. If it ends here, it was well done.
Erin's not the person to be upset.
No.
Erin was told something. The question was asked of Erin, and she
asked a question.
And she put it out there. But the people feeding this misinformation.
We've both been there, done that. Jerry's been there.
They're the ones, not Erin Gendron. They're the ones suffering with the TDS because they don't want this to succeed. Because if it does, you then have to say, well, you know what? As you said, Danny Rourke made this happen. Tom Golden made this happen. Their team made this happen. And there's the negative ninnies aside who just don't want to, they'll never believe anything good of Lowell. That's okay. Hell, I'm one of those in some cases. But there's a segment that can't even celebrate something good happening in their city because of TDS.
We got a new high school. Is everyone celebrating that?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, I am. There's some people who still aren't celebrating.
It was the wrong decision, but we got a high school.
We got a brand new high school.
We got a brand new high school. And you may have gotten a bargain out of it compared to some other communities as well.
When you look at what's out there now, what they're getting and the cost, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy, the cost of construction. So from one TDS to another, the Trump derangement syndrome. You made some enemies on Saturday on the radio. Did you mock the protesters? And I was kidding around about the No Kings protest, and I called it a protest in tweed because I've seen them in the past. And they're great. They're peaceful, and as I said on the radio, I hope distractors don't get involved to come in and start trouble. We've seen that, but these
luckily they haven't done in Lowell.
They were very peaceful. One of the things I did when I did a lot of work with campaigns, I would take a camera and take pictures of signs. We always shared them, hey, look at this. And the No Kings has some of the best signs I've ever seen, homemade signs. They are
Best signs
incredible.
George Soros's money can buy.
But I did read Joe Battenfield's, I think is pronounced his name, on who was organizing this, and it was the American Civil Liberties Union, college professors unions, Planned Parenthood. And to me, the No Kings has always been about, and I could be wrong, grant money. It's about grant money. And
You're saying this was not a spontaneous grassroots movement here? You're saying that unions, advocates, ACLU,
teachers union,
you mean people that have been getting a shit ton of money from the federal government?
To me, that, and I'll be honest with you,
No.
if I was still advocating for the letter carriers union, I'd probably be there. Because this is what you're looking for. Now, some of these people are going to say, I brought up on the radio, I was watching the news, and the first person I interviewed, we got to say PBS. Okay, this was the first person I interviewed. So to me, and I drove through one on a motorcycle. I don't know if it was these anti-Trump things, and only one or two people. They all were on the sidewalk, well behaved, and I'm on a motorcycle. A couple of people stepped out so I could see their sign, but I'm looking. And I'm seeing expensive jeans, tweed sport jackets, nice sweaters, the hats. And I said, this is and they're older. Now, someone said, you said old women. No, I said an older group. When you look at the No Kings, it's an older group. And there's some young people.
And other than the Halloween costumes that they were wearing, there wasn't a lot of color.
Yeah.
Did you know? Have you noticed in 2016, 2017, the summer of 2020, the BLM movement went on. There was a lot of minority involvement in that. Have you noticed since January of 2025? It's what you said. It's a lot of older white folk,
middle age.
Where are the Hispanics? Where are the African Americans in this whole No Kings movement? I don't see other than the politicians.
I've only seen the pictures in the news, and that's the interesting part. So
it looks like the Republican National Convention from, say, 1988.
What I said was, the regatta was this weekend down in Boston, and you can get your wine and cheese and blanket, go down and watch the rowing, and then go to the No Kings. But it's a older crowd, and I'm not saying old. It's an older crowd, probably 40s, 50s up, affluent or middle class. And to me, when I read who was behind it. And let me tell you, when I was doing this type of work, you ask people to go out and hold signs, mailmen. You can't do it. People just don't do it. When you look at the numbers they get out, it's really incredible.
The numbers they got out, or the numbers they say they got out?
Well,
so
there's two things going on here. And some of the stories I read over the weekend, they had 2 million, 3 million. Say they get 3 million people. They did.
Across the country?
Across the country.
Well, they did it in how many cities and towns?
Right.
It's an average of 2,600.
Right. But the thing is, none of these people were going to vote for Donald Trump or the Republicans anyway. They were going to vote for Kamala Harris, Ed Markey. And so that's their crowd. What did they get out of it? And this is what I'm picking up on social media. What are they getting out of it? I don't know.
Well, I mean, if we're going to brag about the size of protests, I don't do a lot of protests, but I was part of the biggest one in American history, actually, on November 7th of 2024. 77 million of us showed up, and we actually elected a president. Not a king. We elected a president. Kings was there an election where King Charles ascended to the throne of King of England, or before him? Was there an election where Queen Elizabeth was won?
Here's what's really coming through social media. The Democratic Party, and I predicted well in advance, Biden wouldn't run. You could have had a primary. They refused to have a primary, and they handed it to Harris.
So
democracy.
So the people protesting No Kings just became part of a process where they supported blocking candidates openly from challenging the decrepit, broken down former president of the United States, Joe Biden. He was broken by 2024. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. He was a shell of what he was before. Whatever you think of what he was.
I like Joe Biden. I voted for him in 2020. What they did to him, I've never seen a debate between the two parties prior to the preliminaries being over, and they put him on.
It was a coup d'etat. June 27th, 2024 was a coup d'etat to remove Joe Biden, and without a single vote cast, anoint somebody to be the king.
Donald Trump, you know, when you see these debates, everything now is a segment, a 1 minute line, bang, bang, bang. Dan Quayle got hit with it back by the senator from Texas.
1988.
Right. And they didn't fact check. He says, I knew John Kennedy. John Kennedy was a friend of mine. You know John Kennedy. Well, the next morning, the papers ran the story. They looked at his biography. He met Kennedy once, and that was to get a book signed for someone, okay? That would have come up. But Trump came out with a line that night that was incredible. I don't know what he just said, and I don't think he did either. That was the end of it.
And that was the end of Joe Biden's candidacy on that moment. Right. So this whole No Kings thing, again, we elected him. You don't like the results, and I get it, but I didn't like the results in 2020, but we weren't protesting King Biden. We disagree with him politically, but Marty, these 3 million, whatever that number is, and again, I guarantee you it's overblown, but that's all right. Donald Trump exaggerates certain numbers as well, but they're broken, man. Donald Trump broke them. I'm bad.
And he does it
beyond
purposely.
repair.
He comes up with these statements, and you know he's badgering them.
Of course he is, because he knows they're broken.
Monday, we had the nor'easter, so I went down to Gloucester and Rockport to see the ocean. I like that stuff. And I'm down there, and I'm listening to the news. And while I'm listening to what's going on in Egypt, there's a pro-Palestinian riot, protest in Boston. It became deadly, violent.
The week of rage.
Right. So, they couldn't celebrate. And now, of course, I had Terry Downs on over the weekend. Hamas is coming out, and they're doing executions. And maybe they're people who were friendly with the Israelis. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what Trump does there. But Trump is with Cambodia and Thailand, Armenian and Azerbaijan. My wife is half Armenian. Let me tell you, that's big. The president of Pakistan got up and said he was going to put him in for the Nobel Peace Prize. That conflict has been going on for years.
India and Pakistan.
And they're
two nuclear powers.
Two nuclear powers.
Two of the four most populous countries in the world, I believe.
And no one's celebrating that.
No, but former President Barack Obama issued a statement on the Hamas-Israeli peace deal, and that never once mentioned Donald Trump.
No.
Again, the same play, the same mentality. Trump derangement syndrome is here in Lowell. Rather than celebrate an accomplishment and good things coming along. Now, you're right. This Hamas-Israel thing could break down. I don't trust Hamas as far as I can throw, and I'm not sure the Arab countries are going to do what's necessary militarily to get them out of there.
If you remember when we went into Iraq and that turned into a fiasco, people were mad at me because I was saying, this is ridiculous. We're attacking Iraq. They've got weapons of mass destruction. I said, that came out of Dick Cheney's mouth and
Colin Powell.
No, not Dick Cheney and the other guy.
Donald Rumsfeld.
Yeah, two of the most disgusting individuals I think ever served the government. But
wait a minute. These No Kings protests, they love Dick and Liz Cheney, don't they? Because
now
they were never Trump. Wasn't Liz Cheney their hero?
They're
that's how broken they are.
But they have no one. Everyone's saying, oh, it's going to be Shapiro. They don't have a leader or a speaker moving forward. The Republicans have
AOC.
That's their problem. Now, Jerry came out with a thing on your InsideLowell. about Marcos Candido. Brilliant kid. Have you met him yet?
I have. He's
likable,
I had him in here for a forum.
Oh,
I had
he's
him in
great.
here for an interview. Good kid, good soundbite.
Where his backing was coming from. And we were
The
talking.
Democratic Socialists of America.
Right. And we were talking about it. And basically, is Lowell ready for this? And I said, what's interesting is in New York, you're going to elect a socialist for mayor. In 2016, Bernie Sanders, a former socialist, was leading the delegates, and the Democratic Party got together and stopped him. In 2020, Bernie Sanders, a former socialist, was winning the Democratic primary. Now, I told you, and I got to research the story. Back in the 1980s and 1990s, the head of the Socialist Party said, we can't win elections. So they were going to emerge themselves with a party, and it looks like it was the Democrats. And they brought their philosophy in, and they're selling it. And a lot of Democrats are buying into it. I'm not a socialist. I don't believe in socialism.
They took over the party, and the good Democrats, of which you were and which many people were, they're so broken by Donald Trump that they are now openly advocating for socialist policies in the United States.
They're running away from it. Bernie Sanders became a Democrat. They've run away from the word socialism.
Not anymore.
But yet they're pointing at Trump, saying he's a fascist.
Not anymore.
Okay? Now, they got away with this for years. They could go to the news, and they had speakers, and they could hold the conversation. They owned it. They've lost the conversation at this point. And as much as their people are running as Democrats who are socialists, they're calling Donald Trump a fascist. And I don't know what he's done to become a fascist. I don't know.
He won an election.
No.
But that's...
I think for the midterms, they ought to change course and look for good young people to run and try to change the narrative. Negativity doesn't win.
They're broken. They're gonna.
I know they're financially
they're gonna spiral right down the toilet as a party. And I know people who I've been following for years on social media who have been right about a lot of things, and they look at the party registration across the country and even here in Massachusetts, and they believe we have seen the end of the Democratic Party as we have known it.
Over the weekend, I said, if I work for Seth Moulton, I'm putting in his ear, we can beat Markey. We have to get unenrolled voters to come and take a ballot. A couple of years ago, Markey beat Kennedy. They argued, they debated who was the most progressive candidate. I want a roast beef dinner on the fact I picked Markey because I saw his town and the town's his strength. But if you want to beat Markey, you've got to get those independent voters out and pull a Democratic ticket, ballot, and vote for Seth Moulton. And it's not going to be that easy because there's 3 Republicans running for governor. So some people, and the feelings on Maura Healey right now, you might see people come in and pull a ballot to put the strongest Republican forward.
Yeah, so
there's your problem.
That will be it. I'm not sure Moulton wins that race, despite the fact the polls ahead of him. We have to wrap it up quickly, but I just want to double check, make sure. Are you okay? The government's been shut down since October 1st. It's October 20th today, Monday, October 20th. Daily Pulse. Are you okay? Did your life stop these last 19 days? Were you?
No, but I'll tell you what. You got to be careful. One of the things that are coming out now, the food industry is starting to hurt because the people who aren't working. And, I wish they would put this nonsense aside. The economy really isn't that great. There's a lot of unemployed people. The job market isn't great. I would like to see the two parties start working on housing, jobs, infrastructure. You start working on infrastructure, there's a lot of jobs.
How do you work when one of the parties shuts the government down? And I know there's disagreement about which party shut the government down, but I mean, we see who keeps voting no to the appropriations bills. And I do have this one question, because you're kind of a smart dude.
I don't know about that.
About the ways of the world and government, yeah, you're pretty astute. So riddle me this, Batman, a.k.a. Marty Laurie. We're told that this is about the Obamacare subsidies expiring, and the Democratic Party is going to go to bat so that people don't lose those Obamacare subsidies when they expire. They don't expire until November, right? Is that
that's when this is going to hit the fan? People... Their open season comes in November, and you're going to see the rates. Now, I thought the Republicans gave up on Obamacare in 2016 when Trump won. They came in, we're going to, day one. But they found out people like their kids having insurance to their 26. They like the fact that you just can't be shut off on. So there's a lot in Obamacare that Republicans, especially the moderates, backed off on because there's good stuff in there.
And they will, when the time comes, actually negotiate to keep some of those Obamacare subsidies in there, right?
My guess is if this was more about Obamacare, if the Democrats had 47 votes, you're going to see Sue Collins, who now has an opponent, go with it. You're going to see some of the more moderate Republicans. You'd probably pick up 10 votes right off the bat. If this was about keeping those things out there, if it was.
You said the key word. And how do I know it's not really about this?
Well,
because, Marty, they expire in November. So why do we need to shut the government down on October 1st?
The problem,
if it's really about the Obamacare subsidies.
It really isn't. The Democrats are still talking about money, health care for illegal immigrants. And that's really what I'm seeing this is about. If it was about Obamacare, I personally think the Democrats would get 10 to 12 votes right off the top in the Senate. You would
have a deal in place, and you will have a deal in place at some point in November. But the fact that this shutdown didn't need to happen until November tells you all you need to know about what it's about. And as a matter of fact, you will see movement this week. Now that the No Kings protests are out of the way, you'll suddenly see a negotiation.
Until they start, when you look at the funding that was pulled out of Harvard, Marty Meehan had an editorial he wrote in the paper. He has UMass Worcester, and in the funding that's critical to these things. A lot of that plays into this. They should be refunded. They should be funding those, but again, this is a battle. Again, it was an election. It's a cultural fight. And this, I said that for over a year before the election. This is a cultural fight, and it's still being played out. Cultural fights don't go away.
It is the fight for the future of Western civilization, Marty Lurie. Capitalism and freedom versus communism and authoritarianism.
I'll say this.
And fascism.
The people who've been trying to shut down Trump, and that's the old Republicans, old Democrats. Trump is not a person who was engulfed with NAFTA. He's not someone who does a lot of trade. He's an isolationist. The last one I saw like Trump was Pat Buchanan, and Pat Buchanan got shut down.
And Ross Perot.
Ross Perot was I'll say this. The United Auto Workers last July were at the Democratic convention back in Harris. By July, they were backing Trump because of the tariffs. They were getting their work back. We got a call from one of our old friends from Drake. He moved to South Carolina, the Whisperer.
Mark Pease.
He called on a Saturday morning. One of the German companies, I think, has about 15 to 20,000 employees down there in the plant. And it's Trump, and people laugh at me. I talk about the Bindenbergers in Europe and the Trilateral Commission. These organizations, in my mind, truly operate, and they operate on free trade and open markets, and that's what they went after Trump for.
All right, got a little bit of breaking news here. We're going to end it on breaking news, Marty, and this is going to drop a little bit later than noon. Forgive me, folks. We got a later start, but also a little bit of breaking news. The state Senate special election has been set for March 3rd.
Wow, that's way up.
Now, my question is that the general or the primary? So I may stall for another 30 seconds here to see if I can get a response.
I thought we could have the primary in late December, early January, and then 30 days later, in February, you have a state senator. I don't know why they're putting it that far out, because in April, you have to start pulling.
Correct.
Signatures.
So if that, now I'm trying to get confirmation on this. Is it the primary on March 3rd or the general election? If it's the primary on March 3rd, that means your general election is at least a month away, right? So what's the point of filling the seat at that point? What's the point of the election?
I thought the best thing to do was, you can't name a state senator. You can do I thought Danny Rourke with everything going on in Canada. No, because listen, he would have access to the budget down in Boston as a state senator. And with the money they may need, I thought Danny Rourke would be a great fill-in. Ask him to take a leave of absence and do it. So that was my tip.
Okay, so all right, I'm now told that the general election is March 3rd.
Okay.
So we got to work backward. So it looks like the preliminary will be February 3rd. That makes more sense.
That would make more sense. And still, in April, you have to go pull papers again.
Yep. And start gathering and start fundraising and all that fun stuff. Yeah. So, all right, there you go. Mondays with Marty Laurie.
It's always fun.
It's about time we do this again, and we broke a little news for some folks. 2 big bits of breaking news. State Senate election, March 3rd. Preliminary, it looks like February 3rd, somewhere thereabouts. We'll get that exactly for you. And remember, within 1 month, you will hear an announcement about a $300 million investment coming to the city of Lowell. The first one is part of the Frontrunner City program.
If it's the only one,
it will not be the last.
If it is, it's still worth the investment.
100%. All right. Thank you, Marty Laurie. We'll see you again in a couple of Mondays. I'm sure. I think I got somebody booked next Monday, but we're going to get you in here on a regular basis. So we're excited about that. You're doing debates on the radio, WCAP.
There'll be no Marty protest now. Keep me in here.
No broadcast, Kings. Anyway, by the way, we do have a full week of Daily Pulse shows lined up tomorrow. We're going to talk to the crew that's trying to save the Smith Baker Center. They've got a fundraiser coming up. We'll try to gauge their progress. I think they're actually making some progress. On Wednesday, Elections Director Will Rosenberry from the city of Lowell will join us. Those mail-in ballots are already out there. Early voting kicks off, I believe, this weekend. So we'll talk to Will about all the voting procedures, everything you need to know. All the folks who say nobody knows about the elections, start paying attention. Get off TikTok. Get on InsideLowell. Thursday, I can't even remember what the hell I have Thursday, but Friday we'll be back with the Daily Pulse Live. I know what we have Thursday. I'm recording a District 4 candidate debate. 𝐌𝐚𝐫𝐿, the incumbent, Sean McDonough, the challenger. They're going to be here on Wednesday night. We'll be debating. I will air that as our Daily Pulse on Thursday.
I get 3 this week.
You got 3 debates this week.
I get Tuesday, and we get the Acre tomorrow morning at 7:30. Wednesday night at 6, we have At Large. Friday, we have Belvedere at 7:30 in the morning, the drive-through like we did. And next week, we have the 7:30 in the morning on Wednesday with Downtown.
All right. So Marty Laurie. Thank you, Marty. Thank you for tuning in. The Daily Pulse. Sorry it was a little late today. We got started late, and I wanted to get the more details on that breaking news. We'll catch you again tomorrow. Till then, please stay dry. Please stay safe. And we'll see you on the other side.